Wandifa, can you hear me?
Yes, pretty much. Remember, can I come on? I come on.
Yeah, I hear you very loud and clear.
Is the volume is okay?
Volume is great.
All right, good. Thank you.
Let us know in the comment section too if you guys are finding any interference or any problems in terms of hearing us. But we're just going to go ahead and start here in a second. Well, assalamu alaikum to everybody wherever you follow us from. My name is Ibrahim Asonko. I am the host of the Dialectic Space podcast that comes your way mostly every weekend and sometimes during the week, depending on what's going on. And today, I have the pleasure of hosting Mr. Wandifa Sanneh, member of the United Democratic Party, who stands out in terms of his advocacy and work in the social media in terms of United Democratic Party. But not just recently, he has been very prominent in pushing the yellow agenda for a while. And I'm really excited to talk to him. There's a lot of issues for us to get into about who Wandifa is. Um, just things that we don't know that are just beyond what we deal with in the social media, because I feel like sometimes that's we miss a lot in terms of our interactions online, so much so that we even forget that these are also like people, and they have a whole lot of things about them than just what we see in social media. So just a brief introduction. Like I was saying, today I'm joined by Wandifa. Wandifa is a powerful voice in government politics and activism, and government political discourse as well. From his early days in the Gambia to his fierce engagement online and his unwavering commitment to the United Democratic Party, Wandifa has become one of the most influential and at times really very controversial figures in our national political conversations. So today, we will explore his journey, his convictions, and tensions that define his political life. This is not just a conversation about politics, but it's also about purpose, it's about identity, and it's about power, and it's about speaking truth. So, Wandifa, welcome to the Dialectic Space podcast.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim. I'm happy to be on your platform. I am saying hi to you and your audience. Greetings to your audience wherever they are, regardless they are in the Gambia or in the diaspora. I'm saying a very big. I'm sending a very warm greetings to all of you.
Thank you very much, Wandifa. If you just give me a second, I just realized my computer is running down on low. I'll just plug my laptop real quick and I'll be right back.
Yeah, that's why I'm also always looking the other side because I also, I'm not on my phone right now. I'm using my computer actually and the
I'm just
webcam.
grabbing it,
So,
I'll be right back.
but I plugged mine. That's why maybe I was at least a minute or so late. But at least when it comes to power, I'm good right now. I'm good to go.
So jaran ko ni nyomin ko lebi I say yam for mol madarong. So kasiteji.
The camera, but I can't actually. I thought you were another Pinala coding or something.
No, my actually I'm originally Nyomin Kamai. His dad is from Nyomi Sika. So it turned out that they crossed and then they lived in Murokan. So my dad was kind of born in like Murokan. So my mom is from Quinala.
Well, I was even thinking you're from Quinella. Okay, you're from Urokan.
So I claim all of it. So most of the time because Kia ngol along. Nkata Kia
Okay.
Mukata
Okay.
so
All
ngol
right.
along. So a lot of people, so that's like the face. Niko Ibrahim, people think that I'm from Kia. But originally we are
Okay.
Nyominkas.
I see.
Yes.
The evidence
Okay.
is all over the place. Mhm.
Yeah, so we're going to start, Wandifa. Right, tell us about yourself. Who is Wandifa Sanneh? I feel like a lot of people see you. We interact a lot on social media. But who really is Wandifa? Where are you from in the Gambia? What are some of the things that really influence your childhood days? Some values that have been instilled in you until today that you still have in terms of your interaction, both at personal level and also professional level. Who really is Wandifa?
Well, Wandifa is a Jaranga, as many of your listeners already know. I am a Jaranga. I am from Jara Dasilame. It's a small village, actually not far from the Transgambia. Some of our relatives are actually in the what we call Crossma at the along the Transgambia Highway. I personally happen to have, happen to have my mom live there actually. Yeah, I'm from Dasilame. That's me, Wandifa. But I also used to live partly in Bureng because my mom is from Bureng. So during my early days, I have spent my time between Dasilame and Bureng. I spent my junior school in Bureng Primary School, Bureng Junior Secondary School. But primary school, I went to Nyaurulung, Nyaurung Primary School. I'm not quite sure you know Nyaurulung,
I don't.
because it's a small village in LRR. Yeah, I know. So I did my primary school in Nyaurlong and I did my junior school in Brent Secondary, Senior Secondary School. Then I went to the Combos to do my high school. I eventually ended up graduating in at Gambia Muslim Senior Secondary School, but due to school fees issues, I have been struggling during my high school days to find a place like a complete scholarship package. So, and then I realized my talent that was in athletics. I realized that this was the only way I could actually do get like a scholarship to finish my school. But I was very optimistic when I was still going to school. I struggled a lot, but I was still very optimistic that at some point I'll finish. I'll find something to do, and I'll finish my school. And then when I realized I could run, I went for trial, and then I passed the trial, and from there I was out a scholarship to transfer to Botrop. But yeah, when I was at Botrop, Muslim built interest in me. They were very, very interested in me. And then the principal at Muslim Senior Secondary School at the time was very serious about athletics and some of the small privileges that they had and the access to the stadium. Because as I went to Botrop, I realized I could very, very, very easily break into the national team, and which actually I achieved as well. So eventually, it was very convenient for me to move to Muslim Senior Secondary School. So I was a sprinter, like an all-round sprinter. I was good enough for 100 meters, 200, and 400 meters. But when it comes to the national record, I am much closer to the 400 meters, somewhere around the top five. Could be a little bit more, but because the results are not very, very comprehensive. But yeah, when it comes to sprinting, I'll just categorize myself as a 400-meter sprinter. That's what my coaches like me to do, even though I don't like to do it much. But that's where I happen to excel, and then I made it into the national team. And I went to the African. My qualifications, my achievements were like the African Junior Championship, which was in Wari, Nigeria, and then that's where I got the qualification to qualify for the World Youth Championship. I went to the World Youth Championship in Ukraine, Donetsk, and then I performed there. And then since then, soon after that, I actually left the Gambia and came to the Netherlands. I was doing very well, even in the Netherlands. At the time, I was still almost in the same category, top four, top five when it comes to the 400 meters. But I faced some personal issues, which I want to get into here. Not because they are private, but it's they are private, but I'm not unwilling to share them. Then I decided, you know what, I think I'm going to quit athletics. But yeah, even in the Netherlands at the time, I can tell you for free, my records were so I could be in the national team because I was already performing better than some national team athletes who were already in the national team. But I did not meet the requirement of like the nationality requirement. As you know, I'm Gambian, so I did not have the Dutch nationality at the time. And yeah, I was going to competitions in Belgium, in Germany, as I was still here in the Netherlands, Italy. I think this was like Ibrahim, the happiest time of my life. To be very frank with you, I was
Yeah.
very happy at this time. I wasn't making as much money, but I was very content. If I have some little money at the time, instead of doing certain things in Gambia, I would rather go and buy some magnesium. I would rather go and buy some supplements, because at the time I was also subject to, sometimes I'm subject to doping test. So I cannot just go into a shop and just buy any random thing. So the supplements I was buying, they used to be a little bit expensive, and my income was extremely low at the time. So the national team was not responsive to my questions at the time when it comes to inquiring about the international calendar. And obviously I know for myself which international events are up next. But yeah, are they sending people? Sometimes yes, who they will not respond to my questions, my inquiries. So eventually I said to myself, you know what, F it, I'm gonna quit it. So but then I decided, you know what, I have been holding my guns when it comes to politics.
Mhm.
So as I was debating between leaving athletics and focus, looking for a career, maybe go into academics. And then, the April 10 and the solo sending incident happened. That was the first time I
Before,
posted
what,
something on social media. Mhm.
just then before we get to that, by the way, Wandifa, you also welcome to make a juxtaposition of Mandinka and also English language here, because I think we have a large number of people who are really interested to also follow us. So we can typically I
Yeah, okay,
speak
yeah, we,
with
we, we can do
you
that. And
also,
also
yeah,
Wolof, yeah, Mandinka and Wolof, I can,
and all of yes, exactly. So
yeah.
you're welcome to also do that. But I just also want to, before we get
Mhm.
into at what level you found your voice in terms of political involvement, I just want to
Yeah.
establish the trajectory of when do you actually move to the Netherlands? At what year did you move abroad?
So after the World Youth Championship in Ukraine, I went back to the Gambia. So and then since after that, just shortly after that, I was able to have the opportunity to travel to the Netherlands. So when I came here, obviously I didn't come here and be like, okay, I have to go and look for money. I was still very much interested in athletics. I wasn't focused on looking for fast money or something like that. To be very frank with you, at the time, I was like, I'm going to do athletics first, and then yeah, if I don't make progress in that, because for me at the time it was not performance. My performance was, I would say, very very good. I can send you my timings. I have videos to prove what I'm saying. I have, if you go to the IAAF, that is the National Athletics Federation, their website, you should be able to find my records there. So my personal best is 46.4. That is my personal best for the 400 meters. 20 and 21, was it 21:20 or something like that for the 200 meters, which was, I was not a specialist, and the 100 meters something like 10. I don't know. I really forget some of my records.
Yeah,
That's how much I miss athletics. So I came here in 2014. I came
2014.
in.
Okay.
Yeah, I came to the
Then,
Netherlands in 2014.
what during your time in Gambia before moving abroad, was there any time? What is sort of the deal at any point where you realize, in fact, there is some politics about you, like you sort of we all go through that period of our life where you like something is happening to you, you become attuned to some form of social cause. For example, some people is politics, some people is civil society, some people is other things, right? At what point long itela in terms of your school life or your upbringing towards moving to Netherlands do you realize, in fact, you have a responsibility to be involved in political advocacy through social media?
So okay, you want me to start from what inspired me back in the Gambia?
Yes, it's obviously it has to start from Gambia. I mean, it doesn't have to start from Gambia, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
suspect.
So back in the Gambia, I those who know me many years long, if you go to the Gambia, I have a nickname. They even call me Browse. That's why I'm for Karamoba, Karamoba. If you, I know you used to see that online. Yeah. Okay. So before I went to Jollof Tutors. I was very very interested in computers and stuff like that. So, but I did not just go to Jollof Tutors to study computer. I was actually interested. I have a like I really like computers and technology things. So then I used to go to the internet a lot. Be browsing like a lot of people in the day back in the days in Bikama would do. So back internet or so, but I was not only going to internet for personal stuff. I used to follow a lot of websites, which some of them aka blockle. And at that during that time, I learned how to bypass some of the restrictions that they put in place. I can still remember vividly, Hello Gambia. I can remember mafanta.com. I don't know where that went to. I can vividly remember Panderi. Of course, everybody knows Panderi, but Panderi used to go have a lot of restrictions. But even at the time, I knew how to bypass that. I used to Panderi Gibe. Okay, but okay, I was living with a civil servant in the Gambia, in Birgama Misra. So obviously, I also had access to newspapers. Newspapers are newspapers I can sit here maybe for an hour or two talking to you about how Chief Ibrahim Manela's story, Rambo Jarala's story. I read about it in the news. Also, I'm often follow newspaper letter. The stories like Kanyiba Kanyi, one that really transformed my life and changed how I view politics forever. Because sometimes what happened, Ibrahim, some of these stories I read about them in the Gambia, but when I came here in the West, and I was already like growing up. I came here as a very young adult. So as I grow up, how I feel about some of these things, how I look at them retrospectively, it wasn't nice. It gave me a lot of bad feeling. At the same time, courage to take on the system. So during those days, I used to be a very very informed citizen. To be very frank with you, I don't normally buy newspaper. Mbukasa, nka
Mhm.
newspaper sort of like I didn't like. So ang kaso to suko na radang kakara. So I came to realize about learn about this human right abuse. Banko ka mulbe to rajin when it comes to mafo coming economic hardship dama that has always been there. But coming these stories are like stories like Chief Ibrahim Mane. There were several stories. Me along almost every other day or every other week or every other month abinala. If that hydra story bola kono. So if you are somebody me along can newspaper read all the time, you kind of like ika will sort of like ika story and follow and also not just the bad ones, inspirational ones, such as the story of Major Lamin Gano when Gano joined the Gambian National Army. I remember vividly one time reading an article that I believe he wrote, saying when he joined the Gambia Armed Forces as a cadet, he would never forget the open admiration that people look at him with when he is walking around with his uniform in the streets of Banjul. So no be remember. And also I read about Honorable Lawyer Dabo. I remember one of the best quotes I remember coming from Lawyer Dabo was the construction of schools and hospitals is not a yardstick to measure development. So ngani lu be remember vividly. I can still remember all these things. Watomen na kita watomen na buried kang newspaper and I na brain for na form nyame ngaya shape nyame. Obviously it shifted me towards UDP. There was no doubt. But I once had a soft spot for PDIS as well, especially at the village. When I was at the village, I still during those days, I remember attending a Doi rally, and I was very, very much inspired by Honorable Halifa Saleh.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes. To be honest with you, I was very, very, I not likely, and I think he's a very respectable statesman, and he deserves respect forever. So all these things, Ibrahim, they changed my mind. But when it comes to the issue of Kanyiba Kanyi, it was completely different. This was not something that I was just reading in a newspaper. This is something, Ibrahim, I have to take my time to explain this because, Gambia is a small country. You see, when you go to TRRC, you listen to the TRRC. One of the junglers that they mentioned there, it was actually a neighbor of mine. There was nothing like Yaron Formalo.
Mm-hmm.
He was just a neighbor living next door. He was involved in the killing of so many people. One of them was somebody that he killed. I can remember vividly. Your audience may also remember. You know, and I couldn't believe that this person would do all those things. But obviously, I used to see people like Sanamanja. Sanamanja will come to our side. We football he will come there. We sit there. I can tell you his interactions with drug squad members. These are all brutalities. I remember one case. I'll give you an example. We were playing football. Obviously, I was never a weed smoker. I never liked weed. So during childhood, but I would pop in here and there and smoke cigarette as a teenager. To be honest, during those days, I would rather do that than smoke weed. Weed has never been like my thing. So, I remember we were playing football and Sana, obviously he came, he was like the bossy guy. He gave weed to somebody to primary role, yeah, understand. Some big drug squad all 50 tana. Ibonyolam kabunka jam. So when the guy came, about another pistol, yeah, understand.
Mm-hmm.
He was operating, I think, solo or at least an drive for Dama. But I remember him alone. So when he came, Sana 50 tana, Sana was steering fence fenkoro at only Palantero. Roswaronya is a very experienced guy. I think he was a soldier. So when Brajita Nangala Motola, Astobita Menarek, I am bull top, I learn you that to Sabatanga Sumbu, Akamonyo, Yanimola. Akayo, he's just from smoking. Yeah. So I asked Samba. Sorry, that was not Sana. But when he took him, Kain Jongla for Akaba Samba, that was it. I was Jongla fitted and so and he confronted him directly and he told him, he should not take the guy. So this Manonyi Lorang, I remember Akayo. Like, okay, are you a soldier? Yes. Jongla yes. Are you a soldier? Yes. Are you a soldier? Yes. Why not find me at this station? We talk about this. So that was one instance that could have turned really bad because that those people they are always armed. So I remember this very very tall and well built guy also, the drug squad operative. Another. So the same thing where Sana meet. So Sana gave weed to somebody to roll. So when this guy came, another loader. Sana jiba Sana jibe. Sana ko I remember pruka tai join us. Akaya go ndoke na taya city. Abulo kaida. So I saw that force and nobody told me I was there. But I wasn't scared of because maybe I didn't know much about fear at the time because knowing what those people are doing behind the scenes, maybe I should have not been present there. So that guy was armed, Sana was armed. So I saw these things firsthand. These were not things like, somebody told me. And there are stories that I will not even explain here. Certain things that you had at the TRRC. I had them already before TRRC. You understand? I'm not like based on journalist reporting. You understand? Not based on like some online warrior saying it. You understand? So I saw those things firsthand, and where
So
things
those
ended
things,
up.
so
Uh-huh.
those things basically will they sort of inform you into this line of advocacy. Basically, that's the point you're getting at.
Yes, but I want to specifically mention the case of Kanyiwa because as we were, as Gambians, let me see, we are figuring out where was Kanyiwa Kanyi. Where is Kanyiwa Kanyi? Kanyiwa happened to be from Jara, where is it called? I think originally from Jara Jaso. I think, yeah, many of them are from Jaso. So, but Mbala Corrado Kanyi Kunda, by Nsawali. I remember this past, this old man will come there and trying to make inquiries about his son.
Hmm.
As you know, none of that went. None of that was fruitful because I'm adding eventually.
Hmm.
So I was still a teenager. I wasn't as young, but I was just a teenager, literally. Just going about my life, not so much interested in so many other things. But read and newspaper. Though. So one other interest in the back at the pub. I remember seeing him walking down the street, helplessly every day going up and down. I don't even know Akata office to my phone. So Ibrahim, coming like after many years, being here in the West, when I think about these things, you don't see what I remember several Lanka for Jaran Kole. What I'm on. I used to say this Nka for Jaran Kole. His name is Ya Jame when it comes. The man who killed Kanyaba Kanyi, the man who killed Baba Job. His name is Ya Jame. His name is on the ballot box. When you go to voting to the voting booth, please don't vote for him.
Hmm.
I used to tell Jarankas that. So, Woldol Ibrahima, like seriously, that literally made me careless when it comes to the fight. I'm like, you have to do it. You understand?
Hmm.
So, if you want to know what inspired me, those are some of the things that inspired me. And
No.
also, to be very frank with you, I was never into politics full time.
Mhm.
But 2006, I was able to motivate myself to be part of the UDP campaign, the presidential campaign. I was part of the people that welcomed Honorable Darboe all the way from Fonyi. The West Coast, we used to go and welcome him from Fonyi. So West Coast, I was part of it in 2006 and 2011. So, so I once tell this to one Taliban guy. I was like, that's consistent. For me, that is consistency. In
Hmm.
2006, the night before the last day of the campaign, I had my breakfast, my lunch, my dinner in
Hmm.
Honorable Dawo's house. Okay, 2011, the last day of campaign, I had my dinner in Honorable Dawo's house. I've seen a lot of things there. Maybe there is not sufficient time to talk about all those things. But
Yes.
even the confrontation with Jambi, I will not be excited enough to say I was a victim. But I've seen our people getting beaten physically, like with my own eyes. I mean, UDP members for that matter, in Fonyi, because we went to do the welcoming in Fonyi. In Toltara, is it Buyam Lafasibaro? Ka
Hmm.
Benduna World, Kasam Nanga Brikama, Kamiton Kija. Fonyi, there was nothing like meeting, Nikoba meeting, because Fonyi Nimol Tambila, Egaji Kamul Bumberola, Egaji Dulka Findi, APRC flag all fitindila, you know. So it was very confrontational. So Yaya Jame Fanaka Mengoro, he taxed the soldiers to escort us. In both instances, I remember. So, kamanege, UDP model ni berani nyono me minaka. So, jaro ni moto baka tam pikopo. Ikatara sirim pikopo mo kilo be bulte. Ya understand? So, ikana le tambi konvola fit. Ikatara dolga raf all the way nyaro. Dolga tara koma. So, dolga drive, but ulbuka ta tambi nyaro ibuka to koma. So, those were intimidation tactics. So, because yalo no already ni model be class lale. Among the classes, men can mom may witness firsthand, but I was part of the people who recorded. It was one of our members got stabbed. So by then, I stabbed. So I remember vividly. Bria stab ikoko hey tu akara nindi jama. So then somebody said obviously mfelendi mtefelendi iko penodi ala na ye nto sefe nga samba daboma. So I wrote his name. I still remember his name. I will never forget it. It's Aliu Jiba. It was, I think, in Fonyi Jalokoto. So this was 2006, brother, remember 2006. So they wrote his name down. I wrote his name down and gave it to them. They were going to give it to Honorable Dabo, they said. Okay, so and I saw an old man Mealongo. He was torn, Yabumbero la kungra kungelda. He was saying things like coming. Akumole yelda, ya understand? Kebala, I'm getting it. And so sometimes when I see them talking about Fenko, Malamba Flanya, Sifaram Fasa, Kanjaka, Fula Kebala Yindi.
Yeah.
When I Fula Keba Doli, many along with Dabo, economic Sudan and Jigua, no, Ninga Yurje Benufula. And also, I had a friend, Ibrahima.
Saya
Who
waktu
have,
dapat ngalo ko story siya di bulo kono. Sila story lang mo ito banda ngolan
yeah,
because
yeah,
you have a
yeah.
lot of experience. But I love you in kala. Ite obviously Ntol be growing up, right? It's yet into the Mandingala, but in some man jump on Yola Babak.
Mhm.
Some of us we grew up in Jambe era, and you know how that is, and that influenced a lot of us to do some of the things that we do, right? But I do
Mhm.
really want to ask you, Kabitebe grew up Kamfano. Obviously, there are other alternatives. Miyalonka Manke Jamedi. Obviously, you have PDIS inspired. But at what point do you decide, go, hey, nte United Democratic Party, yellow, nte mbetara la world, nte benna life be commit la wale. What is it about UDP for you to identify with and make a decision? Eventually, Kabri moved out of the Gambia to make it your life's commitment to sacrifice all of your time and energy to defend and promote the party.
Well, in 2006, when I went to join the campaign, and 2011, all these times, one more monkey politician at the full time, coming like not participation. Okay, I'm still not a politician officially. Not participation was not full time, but like when they come to annual tour, Brikama, unka attend. You understand? That's how unka can wole. So I'm telling you that go and nga inspirational drule from Dabo. Dabo inspired me already. That's he inspired me actually to study law because when I was going to high school, at some point I was in Wellingara. Nga ba nung court le, nga bunno magistrate court le, nga fake. I still remember the cases nga menu witness. Na keba dole fana me alongo fana the same thing. I law karane. He was studying law at GTT at the time, and then he's now part of one of the security forces in the Gambia. So Wofana, he's a very big admirer. He was a very big admirer of Usainu Dabo. So ni akan nakata nyola lang kadabo like court cases all attend. So bundum, I remember what when I was Zimbal mo fanung, that wona la case dole benda je so nkata nko case by ni so nkata jele sometimes kan film fana nkata nka fenke je. I used to go with that guy sometimes fana killing nakata but nkata la nkala performance je. Even though he never knew me in person, he will not have an idea why this person was even here. I just go and join the gallery nkata nkala moyal, but obviously nteni no ma kewaji, we were all like we want to see him because ngala lawyer ya lawyer ya mo in my case ngala saferol jele ngala cool read on newspaper, so obviously to that extent that I wanted to see him performing in court. So I'm trying to give you a background of me
Yes.
volunteering to go, and 2006, I was not eligible to vote. But coming, I thought I was UDP canula enough to go and campaign for them. 2011, the same thing. In between, the same thing. So I'm not towards UDP. I disliked it, to be very frank with you, because I remember at the stadium, it was not many of these athletes are not interested in politics, just to make that clear. Some officials, one of them turned out to be a prominent APRC member in 2017. Birimbe Jambe Bona, he turned out to be an executive member of the APRC. In fact, I first threat online at Lafanya, you understand? That was during the struggle. So obviously, I always like UDP you joined.
Ah.
I cannot tell you that. All I know is not major contribution, major Fenko Mendi movement. All in 2006, Ndada Lambulani no campaign yola, Nida for Dabola so on Simanta Geldo, Birin Simanta for last day of campaign. Certain and Brigama. And Ibrahima, when you talk about sacrifice, UDP is about a party of sacrifice. Those days, I tell you, I've seen people who walk with their feet, all the way from Double Colorado pipeline to Brigama. Why? Because Motomaso. Because that was the last day of campaign. After midnight, Molmen Fintita, I remember vividly, after midnight, Molmen Fintita Kasai, including all Imantal Muda, but he model Muda. Mbejele mbenta dula jamal fe mala ko ye bol muda but ndefa mambula so ye modol muda biri ye muda. I remember pabi nga boda meeting wala nyame na be sir ngala salo. So after pabi inare kay ko yela modol lel muda, so biri yo fay I later also fa ko ya samba jana kutu police station odo ya understand. So paral final meno be jana what is it called Westfield also randomly UDP members all kanyapi kan ke arrest randomly. Some were even saying at the time, go Ibake can approve a strong, it cannot because this was the last day of campaign. So as some break letters or then for other day campaign election. And both 2006, 2011, last day campaign, mulbe say like paral kanya bi mulka kamul arrest. Dolbi je wolfu kana carte fon fay ofe. So all that adds to the theory of carte fon buga win fairly. I'm not saying that was a significant vote, but what the mafon ya iten lego timbala vote. I don't remember for if you ask people they will tell you. I remember Biria Moldol Muta after that, Yafu Pabi, I think I later Safia Dila Koya Sama Kotu. And how you imagine what time will they release those people? Because they had the discretion to at least detain them for 72 hours. and yalan ko sama sini ni mukarte fa de we amere bol bulala. So this is how I nsafon jointa nyawa wala nyama UDP. So if you want, I can explain diaspora yang I told you already. When what was the event again? When the 2000 and I almost started to speak out on December. December 30th attack.
Yes.
I almost spoke. Yeah, I almost. But I was still doing athletics. And it is very interesting. Now athletics ending Mavang. It was very interesting. I had people still now don't be any book at they said I should quit athletics and focus, because if you know the sports world in Africa, a lot of us had the opportunity to join either drug squad, armed forces, police. I actually spent a day in the Gambia Police Force, but I'll not go a day in the Gambia Police Force training school, just to be clear. But I'm not going to go further than that. So, but like some of my colleagues were in the prison service, some are still there. Even Gina, you can see Gina is a police officer here. So
my brother too. My brother Alaji Sonko. Fana mu borla balda. Fana mala Netherlands zela. Fana ka broke nung Gambia Police Force like.
Ngaya balelong. Yaba muna bo. I traveled together with Yaba. I traveled together with him to, I think, Mauritius. Mauritius. If my memory comes up.
I remember that. Afana mu boro asingo da makabalu ni wala nung.
Yes. Alaji was a very good sprinter, 100 meters runner back in Botrop. Yeah.
Botrop. Yes. Botrop.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So I cannot tell you a time like you want to enjoy the. So this is how I can explain to you for you to understand.
So we went to 2016. Stroke look at the more be katoke ko nimfadu ya kacha kunu mo jama contribution okay. Ita fanang yela own the money work jela. You did your own contribution in your own ways. More dal, especially the people that voted in 2016. We ended up having the change. Ya jemenata bodiata exile equatorial Guinea. The change happened. Now, an opportune moment presented itself for the United Democratic Party through a coalition. Adama Barrow came from UDP. UDP led individual. UDP candidate became the president of the country, even though it came through a coalition. Now, fast forward, UDP executive members or members of the cabinet were fired. Usainu Dawo became, eventually, Nata by Plaso, Nata Amadou Sanneh Fanam by Allah Ambassador Milfana Yalon ko BBJ, Nata Jama Fanam Bondila Plaso. Lefe Ninkala, itala, in your estimation or in your observation, ita mira. Mundo, what could have been done differently in terms of allow opportunity means to ensure that you people perhaps, because for a lot of people, a lot of your critics, in fact, that was a UDP government. But there was an opportunity I miss because Allah for Usainu Dawo Mansayala, at all costs. So wala na falling in that. Obviously, Baro Minke, Baro for Allah for Cornelia Mansayala. But is there anything it me observe code that could have been done different? And because new work different coming from being the Fudala or Tanun Hani Beata Lebetara Mansakula.
Ya mo kendo na banda mo kendo jama bi ga jani mo site kala ko fe ka fo kende ada bakala te simala ha daw man fensoro because I kende abatal. You see, as Darboe was speaking about kumol menu befo kang about fenge Adama Barrow wana manu do bi jeta lonna foning abulo lata na fulo kang wala anara ke modi melan ko aketa sembetioti. So there was no way, this side of Adama Barrow, there was no way that Usainu Darboe Bowolon Nola. It was not possible. There is some more detail the real Adama Barrow, or let me say the other side, not revealed. There was no way. Some people make this mistake of trying to judge Usainu. But Usainu, among the left and president. Imagine the question of but to correct that is, if I may correct you, and I will challenge anybody to bring evidence that shows the contrary. Usainu, in fact, one of the mistakes ala critics memfo ko ay waleke wala ñu ka fako Adama Barrow te sanji sabagal abe sanji lu la constitutional of atema on koronto pour que rasi president ate he was in position ka Adama Barrow buloni university atele karantadi atele privilege tadi ya ona sane atele expose so tadi asa buloni university no le very early on ka commit to the 3 years o jani Adama Barrow banya abulo falen barako no.
But Barrow is the president. You eat a Barrow Buloni, and regardless.
No, politically, the relationship that Darboe
and Barrow, he really runs the state. Among cool for him no nyanya. By then it's going to be hard. This Buloni you don't see no nyanya. I'm for example.
I understand what I'm trying to say is, Nko Darboe man koronto pour kala ke manzati. Naruna koronto da. Kabiring janding galbe astar la ka hakilo domo kaitan dala ko jandia to lebetula jan. ustenu ba hakilo domola nun kaytan dala ko remember the 3 years behind the scenes ya understand aba hakilo bulan lano wala andu asa sonni no wala because ye proximity ila kafu nyoya ni ila kafo anin politique be mo politique party kilo modi nyame asa neno no if including kafa ko ibe bola jela ngaki jeyna mur asa neno le ya understand hada bani won before ni jawba kumbalu anin banko ni jawba ka tan janol be kutula lano usenu could have taken advantage of him but usenu from the onset elon politiko ko no be kuma kilim fole politiko ko there is one thing Ibrahim Kumara ba there is no such thing as divided loyalty. Niko be loyal la jana loyal jana buka keno. A very important topic. Ibuka tarano ibe half and half. Sometimes ikamunta senfur, sometimes ikamunta tapalapa, sometimes ikamunta bahalo, sometimes ikamunta ko follow. Abuka keno wanyama. Sometimes ikamunta ko suwe, sometimes ikamunta bahalo. You know, ate keno la wanyama. Ibe kele kilinati. You understand? So Usenu has made his stand clear. Ko ate he opted for Barrow to serve as stipulated in the constitution. Ate tata no wala. So when Wandifa Sanneh man killing, when maybe Yankuba Darboe Sanneh man killing, when maybe Ite Brahma Fong, I don't know, maybe Sanneh for man killing. But Usenu has made his opinion very clear. Ko left time na wolango. I president ya constitution o ya for nyame. Ataka left ara wala nyam. Ya understand? So natanun ko Usenu Sanneh totally pour ko coalition Adam Barrow la president ya kauke advantage pour ka fon spring into presidency. I think he would have taken a different route. Brahmata Useni selflessness later and would if you are Adam Barrow. In fact, near Adam Barrow from near Moflo Bella interview lamo, you can understand go. There was a time Honorable Jallo Oje, late Oje, I kuonyum funu. At a Barrow, Amura and Dawa go, Yajalimi, Ven Kumofo and Dawa no kana worry. I will be able to deal with this issue. I will address it. Wala indiko kala 5 years position in kas bambandi ana nyimfule on national TV and everywhere so nimol ka fo komen kwa Darboe lafta num president yalla ndo lafta ka Darboe man sayanu okay at what point in time Darboe nyanta tarala num ka president because ndal nga opportunity so wato men wala en ka Barrow nyaku janna iba itan dunya la state house la diabe dunala ya on sa janna be dalla Sunday contuning Friday conchula. That was the time to take advantage of him. But Darboe did not do any of that. In fact, he was standing right behind the president. Ko, you never
Mansa Fanaya reward as the vice president of the Gambia. He did not only make him foreign affairs minister.
No, but Ibrahim, you see, when you call that reward, that's not going to be fair. That vocabulary will be wrong in the context. You know why? Because no. Just hear me out on this. This is somebody me alonko wala munwila party leader. It had a yala name use. So obviously, it's like he's going to be part of the government by default, as long as among incapacitated, he's going to be part of the government. His party happened to be the party. His party happened to be the party where a flag bearer present or flag bearer another win. It is a coalition government. I tell them party leader, even at that time. So it is almost natural that he will be part of the government. But not problem with president. Even vice president, yeah, man from first because our constitution no ma allow. Bring Adam Barrow ya kumanda akayago, lafta keke vice president akayago no. Me yambale keke president, wale yambale keke vice president. So you see, he said the same clause that disqualified me from serving as president is the same constitutional clause that disqualifies me to be vice president. So Mobe Mohammed, among Hadume, among Pareka Luatinya to be vice president. Why do you think that one person will go towards to the far extent of Luatinya, coalition breaking moral rules, to breaking the constitution, breaking his own promises just to be president? Mobe Yalonka among Hadumoke, put a vice president. What I know Haduma like a president. In a sense. It's going to be difficult for him. It has been difficult for him to be successful in politics because of when it comes to this mulla and yet into la molje jamabi hadamani by nature. Ibrahim, one aspect mabem for wala ñu go nena sitale lonna ba ay qur'ano karanyal ay qur'ano fasari nyala la yaba amari lonna ba nda to fula nena nga to fula but I'm not going to mention his name. Ibrahim ma fo wen so londo lalde but I life lesson all dinner. Me alonko I had one man could for many alonko scripture I had one lonne. In that context, that one in Nento, instead from for no seven the ayo fole, but in example de la co hadabadimo. Ale hadman would describe as a being me alonga capacity. na beti yake bi Ibrahim ko nyako wande ibe struggle kana wori every time he sura 10 euro la ngitop me 10 euro dile la Ibrahim lu nebe sile be pasila not that because you are wicked and mo buka ñu understand sometimes wala na man jere ka kam fa ñoo kama kudol because ala fa ngole ndol describe konka pasile so near Barola Musol Jibe at the time, Darboe Jibe, Ikalon Fanako, at Labana. I was one of the first people who called it, not Commandia Dolly for calling it. I do not call me. The red flag was very easy to see. Barrow left the country. Yes, he left the country. I Darboe to Gambia. So there was a survey on hunger. You understand? Eko Gambia Concord Nimbijel. So Biriwo Molna and Darboe Mitale. And Barrow came to the airport. He was very dissatisfied with this, and then he made a statement. By November, by November, he telephoned me for so be report of Bondi lale. Ako menu ye report of Bondi in oppositional level dogwa. That was his vice president. I was like, no, Kabirinje, Mona Paviri, Nimbe Bailet. Imagine it airport oppositional level and those people went to meet Honorable Darboe. They had a meeting with Darboe. They took pictures with Darboe. Official meeting. And he was aware as president. I don't know if oppositional level meeting. Any oppositional level meeting. I wonder. For me, that was it. I said to myself, I said it.
Okay, well, I think your point is very well taken. I can understand, because at the end of the day, for now, more banda people are going to be more call interpreted like differently. Some people from
and we have every right to. We have every right.
Exactly. So I think that's okay too, because sometimes we lose that in the conversation to say that for some of them, and I've said this before, and I would still stand on it to say that look, the observation is that UDP has a bigger opportunity than any other party in the Gambia. And I saw that, like 2016, man, I wish it had gone a different way because UDP Mansakunda and we would have had a UDP Mansakunda for perhaps maybe 10, 20, even 30 years. UDP Mansakunda will continue. Because we've never seen so far a full-fledged UDP government, even though UDP la critics all they try to make the case Kafoko Barola Mansakunda. No, I do think that we've never seen a fully UDP fledged.
If you don't mind, because program I want to raise a very important point. You see, there is this person who left UDP for NPP. Yala ni mafwe ni na keba dol deal tanyam, but na keba can also struggle ogonal. Many alongo yen karandi baka kuja malela. But just to jump to the point, keba do biye atata NPP la sayanga. Ako according to Atlas story do atata Darboe yale. Pour Darboe do ko diala. Darboe kay ko ñu manke UDP government albado man no manale bari ngamera palasol be sodla la ñaatu nim palaso sutta mbal be dun la baral salam fanan ko ñu manke UDP government de mo da ba ñu fañal dañ da mañu mo be yalla ngata anat la bangada NPP wala gañu ani Ibrahima even imal la ñu kumola there was evidence out there don't find it no audio bondi don't find it no frustration li danika ko itol mo prominent UDP ko lel di man palasol sot fabu fo e kuma roga mboy kuma fa findida you understand Ibrahima Tunkara was like that angamara sa atle managing director gamtel bang for assistant la I don't even know Tunkara was like that Tunkara I had a personal conversation with Tunkara on that because nenanga topic dollar post I was advocating a Darboe side tag against someone who was actually a UDP and also an indirect victim amari complaint so na hakilo bra nga ko mo bora ko do kafkete ye nyoma jama menga dila so e ko nyilbe masakunda to e fengo fo ko masakunda ko do ci kadro ya dila ya ron sana ati dingole problem so no at the time but ko do kafta nyoma very recent at the time amam hani beva adital tungara en ko na ngai ndoma ide yi atul malo mu ne be kering ñul tarale du nday masakunda ko no dabo ni ñul be sirin jele ñul be ko menatul yow lo ne te bu dinni wol ite mu ne la wodo ñul man traffic so you see the impatience in some of the people. But Darboe was not corrupt. If Darboe was corrupt, I mean, prominent UDP figures like Lamin Tunkara, Wandifa Sanneh, Boy said it even at the time. Ibrahim did not all come automatically. You understand? But there were a lot of people who got big names on me for Fabu Dolman Palazzo for complaint. Fabu were big names in UDP. And in the form at least at the time, it's a low working. I could, but people like me, they'll never contemplate. You go, Imam Palazina. Aboka Sidik. Imam Palazzo. He never. And he was a prominent UDP member. na abandon jaranga man in America, the same thing. They were all educated, they all had, but if they are rose kafalin plus or dinner. And no matter how good your earnings are in the US, as long as you are an average, you just you can drunk clock in, clock out. Government could have given you a job may longer. It can probably, help you forget the US for
Yeah.
a moment. So, but Dabo did not do. You see, Dabo did not do any of this. Ibrahim, you have to respect the old man for not buying into these things because Nigeria Adam Borough went as far as Palazzo create many they were not necessary. Cybersecurity advisor, Suleiman man computer lonte among hacking lonte. Yeah, understand. You cybersecurity advisory. When you wanted to bring Sabali on board, you just brought him. You create whatever Palazzo. So redundant plus Jamal Lebije. Yeah. Somebody employee, you understand? Often already there was Bojan Suso. Plus, we create even they were not necessary. Dabo would have never done any of it. If Dabo was doing that, a lot of our big guns, especially Diamulal, and many of those people never must have sila Diamulal. Dabo could have said Kombatunga Fabu Dabidi, but when there is no position, Dabo could have said Madunga Wandifa employee, didn't know Lambari, Madunga is someone and they come and land here for Barossa Kaka Dingola somewhere. So all those could have happened, but that did not do that. So to the critics, to the critics, I would say let's go into substantive issues. Let's talk about ideologies and principles, but please put corruption aside.
Yes, no, I don't think Mobisila, honey, Munekade Marila, I don't think Besila, Momoka Sidore Kafuko corruption, I think will come against on because it's a Kumadobe for no Dabodo. It's a for no Alafa Mansala, Alafa Kudola, just those, but I don't think Moses, at least personally from my experience and from my readings of him, he's not a corrupt person. We can all absolutely.
No, I love on that Sila Janko Dabo Malaf Press the Yala. I love to press the Yala. But for say, I agree with you completely, brother. I agree with you. But coming, a Jareta Munela. The Ajareta Munela, because not only a Jareta, even Kabanko Nyami Nyodo, Yajamel time a problem of Willing Lanu. Okay, Barofana the same thing coming for us, Baro Buloni Euros no. And Baroman Hani UDP Nyanyum at some point because Baro Nuko he cannot use lethal force against us, which Jame was very much willing to use, and we were not scared of him. Baro could not have used that against us. Dabo could have very easily told Baro something behind the scenes, me along Babon Lajalata, someone in Amazon, a UDP crowd used against him. But he never did any of this. So I think we just have to be fair to the old man.
Yes.
You understand? Just because you certain people told you some things about him, you have been fed a stereotype about the old man. Doesn't mean that he's a bad person. And the program is not broad enough for me to go into my interaction with people from diverse backgrounds. I still have a lot of childhood friends from, let's say, the Fula community, the Wolof community, not as big because the Wolof, most of the Wolof that I know, from childhood. But I speak to people, man, they are from those backgrounds, yeah, and if you are on how you can talk with your homies, they'll be very open to you. Even in instances they think that some of these things are tribalism, they will tell you. If they think it is not, they will tell you. So because we are best of friends, we have been friends since primary school. In depth. Those people, if I speak to them, I understand coming how, for example, one of them told me one time go, until he met somebody, me alongo, una have I join and dabble. I double a cook and over. I can go to mark on correct. I can buy farmer in and out at the cartier file. I can stood sandal. I recently I can remember Mama Candela. I can barak of cartier file on farmer fanel. Double fanel. Yeah, understand. So, but one more cable. If you go to the, let's say, the Fula community, especially in Tulamavon, many alongo, they were involved in politics. During the Jawara days, they still have this soft spot for UDP. So Olan Abraham, he said so because he doesn't know Mekajal. One of the things that we need to do willing to go for those people because to be honest with you, a lot of things that I know about political history, I don't think I'm a background but it's also from a diverse background. I grew up in that society. You understand? When I was really young and energetic, you know how mischievous teenagers can be. But probably and imagine anybody am nangat laugh loko kafo nene dia la tlen karandiwa akonye ko kafo kafo se mo bainda akaba fala bari mo kilin doron wonya niamo bandi ite stara nyato ena do ko kafo ko atata ne betade akunyego ite bulala mono men lafta men fa akunye kafo ne dia so wala nambuka stila fa pour min kafo kan ay fo nyogo I just take my time you understand but abo focus in what context la how he himself saved somebody's life and politically he was very liberal minded and I saw that also in other flock communities in that area, many people who were involved in politics during Jawara days, you understand? They have their own reasons. They will never support Darboe. But it's not because of tribalism. But moment political lombaga because dolby come in PPP ning NPP ning PPP ning NCP rivalry adu dala nonde. Jamal del bije ya understand? So wakam mala dol fral bije even in those communities will forever Darboe. But wolfana femfen ning sirf di wala kol murunda o dolbi je femfen ning jawara kol murunda wala data so these are Gambians so wala dinanko I believe UDP need to act like they are the political life of Gambia you itam tatwa karanel tuabol ko scientists jama kamende ko life life is a system melanko it can self-replicate and evolve. So UDP we have proven we can self-replicate okay nka mol nati no mol katana mbalale fana mol kana le ka jone na kafo kono ya feel ko e block ko etale ye fambula eta ngol bejele right but we need to evolve wala nyini ko we need to go to people in their natural habitats near meet and even our old man himself has to go but atala ta is not as important as ndola ndol nyanta tala wato wati ya understand ngatanka moltare ya niet kacha because kana mera ko blado bije wol ka folem ko wol blado bije ka folem bimi wala blado bije ka fole fenko mane you have to go to the community if you go there I kid you not. Yeah, there are a lot of liberal-minded people out there, even in those villages. Because ngani keba men for abanda la maka fornia for kala. I didn't baraka njama to dunia to be honest with you. I didn't njama baraka to bakara kono. But come on, he may not have those discussions with that dingol because be on family sitter Kenya sometimes. But I ende kanule, I just bandale, but I know ulula of course. I kano akakachanya. Kuma jama fonya enkarani kujama life kono. But he was very passionate about politics as well. So in that Ibrahim, I learned a lot, to be very frank with you, regarding the political history, yes. Regarding Kenya. So that's life for you, Ibrahim.
So because Kachawe diarim baba kele, so continue on tabana. But love you specifically, so from going kata, futu banda UDP ning baro tema, UDP National Assembly, UDP not a majority in the House.
Can you pose that question? Ngela previous con, haklo bulada fenala manje fengede.
Okay.
Manjema. I told you what inspired me. Yeah. Okay. But when not trigger, this is I feel like I need to explain this aspect. What I need to go. What time when I was in UDP, 2016, just before the change, before changing, obviously Jammeh was still there. I had problems with Jite. Not personally, but his rhetoric. Yes, I had been blocked from that problem until today. I will have said over money. I had been blocked. I don't even see it. So I'm at Jide. Aka kumol for me alongo. Aka hani back a juzojat. For a timpala masi. So one day I manjako lelma, and I felt very unpleasant about that. Kombo manjako. Not any different than Babugar Bahumian and the Roman Kiankola recently. The Komomanjakol, they need to be grateful, blah blah. I was very pissed with that statement. So on that I went really hard. Comment section but after that UDP group dosro o grupo ini wala tata NPP called biri bada birim fa bu ñol ni la mol botam kono tata NPP ini wo group tata. So nga safero ke on the whole Jite was an admin. So I remember one post clearly somebody needs to talk to this Ahmad Jide. He cannot just be openly talking about tribalism and talking condescendingly about other tribes on the public space like this, in the public space like this. Somebody need to stop what this man is doing. Nga post moya delete admin. Nga post admin ya delete. Ndara from a comment nga moya delete nga ka ben track. So I came out and I made a video working the first Facebook live to address Jide on the issue of tribalism. Because the way he addressed the Manjakos, that was very unsettling. Especially, he went a little bit admitted like that.
Yeah.
So, what I can Sababoti forced a video to respond to that tribal bigot, or that, let me say, that tribal bigotry from Jite. wolen kala first ever video de namenke pour ka findi nan ke diam la fumo ya start kan shooting. So I came out against tribalism. So wala na Taliban, or we are not talking about it. But ninga doluje, I'm like, do you really know me? Ninga boy ka kambale ka bra ka tra ka bro. Nga bragle or something. But yeah, to be honest with you, I was inspired to speak out on Facebook Live, follow la, to come against tribalism because Jesus spoke in a way against the Manjagos that I thought was very unnecessary and uncalled for. And some of these things, these people, I jakalo wartal that. So, but yeah, that was willing inspire ka findi ka diamo. Ano diamo like near start, then you can start you struggle to be able to gather yourself to come out.
Yeah.
But near start from sometimes you feel motivated to continue because sometimes you speak, people give you feedback, and that inspires you to go continue. So for those people, I want to tell you, maybe I don't know how you see my tribal games, but yeah, I was inspired to be an anti-tribalist guy. That's why I started speaking publicly. My first public statement to come here on social media, I came out to put a tribal bigot in his place. So willing inspire Gafindi. So just to put that out there, Ibrahim. Yes, I remember that. And this is also a matter of fact because Femfen Gafo Janga as a fact check knowledge. Just ka mboga VAR ke bagal and come on
Sign to that point. Love a question of Ninka more than the Dominica on the side. Question on Ninka as a follow-up in terms of the response to Ahmed Jide. Some of the critics will come in for all of Nindiko. Wandifa is one of the most controversial and divisive UDP figures. And I say this respectfully as a brother.
No, if that is what is being said, why not relate? Yes. Why not?
So Sakataki, and some in fact go to the extent of saying that, you are one of those individuals who espouse ethno-nationalist values in the United Democratic Party. And to some extent, you're not really interactional, either, directly or indirectly, explicitly or implicitly. Sometimes some of the things you come in for either miles hani no kofo. Kwe ka min for doron ko jiti da miles hani no ka kuma dolo. Fante fana nangela wela wari don ka sila da maninka.
No example cleaning because context ka kuma ya waga.
So for example, one of your videos on YouTube, you're talking about UMC Talib Bensouda, an Obama, and you're referring to them called, Sunkanya Olam, Laron Befenela, and you're just going very passionate, in some of your addresses. And you coming for them, Kachalom, yeah, that what do as you get on with it, you get hot, and most of the time for but that video, I must say that it's in response to other people. Even more left on address count on that video to be
Thank you.
So in terms specifically comical tribalism cool, you just some of the accusations that have been levied.
I'm glad you singled that out. I'm glad you singled that out. So you see, when it comes to Talib and his mother, America, right? Okay, you see that country, many la history lomba ka fo ko bi democrats la principle mumendi wotu manu wolem republican la position bi republican la position mumendi wolem democrats la stand no and what can then ben mo la ko when it comes to the Bensoudas. So I was man for yasta come follow journal nga issue soro no with Sabali.
Kendeke
Okay, let me just summarize why I thought UDP dropped the ball on the issue of Muhammad Sabali. For me, it was very simple. Sabali never joined UDP. Another water there was a commission recommendation against him. Yeah, recommendation of Finto join UDP. Go and check the timeline. It was off. I thought it was not essential. You understand? Okay. He's still very much welcome because another July time in spend it was the best time of his political career. So if he wants to join, I'm not saying he's not welcome. But okay, he's welcome. But why do you want to give him prominence to that stage? Because this guy is on record going after Ami Bensouda, going after the commission. Okay, this guy Amazon joined, welcome, and he never joined until being commission recommendation of India. So another coma. For me, that was clear for Nimana UDP essentially. Just to make it clear. That was my opinion at the time, and that's still my opinion. So Ningala difference also real. The second thing about Sabal, the same, because Sabal and Bensoudas, they are connected as far as my personal story with these people is concerned.
So when you say even mean Talib
the Taliban, I'm talking about the Taliban.
Okay.
And those who say the
Taliban.
Yeah. So so, but Ibrahim, interestingly, ami ben so dela konto mu drame le nga sana wala drame kunango ni sana kunango nga cover num bakele nga support num bakele for especially against Mamadou Sabally because Mamadou Sabally India I'm somebody who is very passionate about the commission from the onset commission flow bilam aflo be ni bele follow and I'm very passionate so ami Talib ka fintinu manam Sabally ka fintinu nak ami ben sudama ako ami ben sudama sungolti anu article o wada mo anara ka join dan tol konole wala nan fon at some point ko Talib ni ta hakil tula bakel because wo mo kilimo mun ka Sabally defend wo nyama ko e premier UDP fi go mo kana mal fatama o mo kilimo le ka bulo ko saye at Sabally ko wuli ko de ka aka fuko ami be suda musungolti ni Talib diam mo kilimo le ka bulo ko saye so you see the dynamics it doesn't at some point it doesn't even make sense it almost defies the laws of physics okay so like ite kilimo ka Sabally bulo ko say Sabally kilimo ka ka fo amolo ka mi ben suda mo sungoldi o ite kilimo ka bulo ko Talib so you see how dynamic solving and me hakil to regal it can mislead very easily but for me like I said consistency is very important in politics very important I believe ko Sabally ka it was wrong ndoko ndol as the main political party in the coalition we played a key role in constituting both commissions,
Yes.
the financial one and the one with relating to the human rights. Yeah, understand? So Sabally openly, I found that to be very unsettling. And remember one thing, when I was going to school, when I was in Gambia, I told you about how I read newspapers. Sabally was one people passing. I'm going to tell you that. Okay, growing up, not a story read, not just artists, but because I used to read a lot. You know, newspaper. I used to have access to newspapers, so I read a lot of newspapers. Sabally ko follow back and read back. Sabally admire, and I remember, you know, this guy, you know, I'm going to explain that. Yeah, in any abuse, you know, in the streets of Banjul, which we all witness. Yeah. So you see, knowing all that, after knowing all that, Sabally, the first red flag for me, national radio. You listen to him, you see, which is not a crime, by the way. You see his open admiration for Jammeh. He still loved Jammeh.
I mean, he did it a few days ago with him.
You see? So even though, you know, these people, they may be smarter than me, but I also have my own way of thinking. Plane. I thought at the time for APRC organizer, but that was the right place for him because admiration for them and the way he thinks Jammeh did things way better than, you know, Ndolba Kek and Jammeh. I think he should have just joined them. Okay? So, akita wala nyama. So, mbije, ati Sabally kilingo, ami ben Sudaneng. When it comes to the commission, and I felt like he needed our protection because it was through a government led by our party that was selected to be a lead council. So see, these are all our protection. I stood, and the records also are here. The VAR can run. We shall see. I defended Ami Bensouda. I thought he does not deserve to be attacked for just being the lead council. You understand? So, this story now flipped. Investigation, just like I followed the other commission. Imagine now commission don't follow. Don't follow. You see how selective our people can be. So I'm following this other commission. At the time, make a new story. Remember that. Found a case man. What was happening? Model be testify. You understand? Implicitly, you know, incriminating Ami or some is somewhat explicit. Maybe one but implicitly, it be Ami Fenke. So it will come in the mere notion that I decided, the mere fact that I decided to go and cover the commission, which involves investigation of Ami Bensouda, was wrong. And for God and heaven's sake, it is my constitutional right. Even
I think because Talib Bensouda miyanka balla pati kono nung sa amantaraje, you know, atata ayala own movement or form. So it's hard to mole distance between one iman lafinina where the person that used to defend Talib, because Talib is UDP lanung, Talib support lanung publicly. Right?
Yeah.
He's always been, you know, obviously.
No. My defense of Talib was only one. Not defense of Talib. Only against Bakar Baji.
Yeah, candidacy support because he's part of your party. Another party in Kono. And then these issues of Commissioner Nathan, and now you're one of the most open persons publicly criticized, especially.
Yeah, because they refuse to reflect on history because next time before the commission was constituted, I accused Talib Ahmed Bensouda of corruption. You have to know this. I accused Talib of corruption even before the commission was constituted because I have spoken to people. First, many ago they were involved in dubious acts. You know, many ago they were benefiting from KMC. Because KMC money called like a dealer. Some of it you can they end up using it like command demo and fengo dole. But in essence, corruption or maybe younger kalam the force and some of them ended up being expanded upon at the commission. You understand? But nga corruption ko ngo kalam da junal o man kenyi ko comment like commission or so some of them missing how they think. So somebody can just say ko yeah support le birana commission do drong. You know you go all of us. No. I since 2023 said Talib was corrupt because I was privileged to some very privileged information regarding corrupt practices, engaging people in business, procurement. Many along they are suspected to be family, or maybe companies that are concealed, but they may have family ties. You know, individuals many along they have ties to him. Individuals many along they are within his own circle, giving privileges to people. And these were not hearsays. It was deep, and they were authentic.
Just to put
Yeah,
let me just make a point because now you consider make a chance to continue. Just to make a point, you've made this point constantly clear. You point and you emphasize it severally on your Facebook, on your YouTube call. Ebe sharing information on lekang about Talib Ben Sudamia Lanko, Commissioner for Mol Fintini. What I'm saying, but you have a legal background. You know, for example, we cannot just live in a society by hearsay. If you have these things, me uncle in fact suggest Talib corruption because commissioner most of what they point to is the fact there are administrative malpractices here.
No, brother. You see. Let me tell you something.
Let me make the point. Wandifa, let me make the point.
No, Abraham, corruption is.
Let me make the point. Wandifa.
Okay.
Corruption is a legal term. You know, it has legal connotations as well. What I'm telling you is so far what I've watched, and I've watched the commission. It's a commission of GBL. Most of what came out of the commission are sort of nepotism, for example, and also administrative problems. We can agree or disagree on that. That's okay. But my point is that if you have these evidences that you have continued to post on social media, you've never even for once even published these information to in fact support the commission in their work to hold Talib Ahmed Bensouda accountable.
Okay, good that you left and go back. You see the history of the story of corruption. Yeah, corruption and politicians. Or corruption in society is almost as old as the story of mankind itself. So you see, it before I'm program on the I want to believe, or at least before being a friend of my alongo, is either nyawlam or subolam. At least part of the energy may fuel masirinja. Dafe mo dabe jela. Maybe nyawla domo o nga subola dom. You understand? Including chicken, maybe subol. Nyanya mbe domola is because ala entolso hakilo la metolso aiso nidia da mal but ala entro so hakilo aiso nidia ya jahara ni fail ta ke hakilo use di mo you fail ke hakilo use anya madron ibe do malale and wo do mo ke kemene we call for corruption wala la corruption ibe na karla ada hara ngende hakil tulo ro bagal corruption na lo ko ta society la every society hani tariko kono ala society dol men bi jaye bruka is because of corruption adun ikeje daka dia ko tastelam ika all kind of defense la put up for none of the story of corruption. You see, ibalo na menna ko commission amanna pour komen ka Talib dole amira pour ka tenkere amanna wala de. Minde la ku jamal lek Ibrahim ite maybe experience role. No,
just to make additional point. I'm gonna get Talib Damati. Allah another UDP Lord Mayors in Banjul. Rohim Malik Law was also severely indicted by the commission too in terms of some of the revelations that came out.
No problem.
These criticisms of are you selectively picking and choosing who you should actually address than collectively. Talib, there are a lot of things that he did that I think he could do better. I totally agree with you in that respect. But my point is, need to be serious, right? The social responsibility as
no, I am not saying commission malo. Let me just tell you something, Ibrahim, just to make this clear. Yeah, corruption of I defend let me just make this clear. You see, new auditor nada, yeah, at the municipal council or any other office, it need administration or random check files or GB. They go through sometimes random fengole, then we don't pick work. So you will only understand it is only reasonable to think the commission also of all the malpractices that were found. Yeah, commission of an pick work because you cannot investigate all these things. Some of them you just tell them to refer it to the police. Some of them you tell them to come up with disciplinary measures within the council. Yeah, understand? So like okay, nite fenalo molma mellong wo fo ba molia moy
But okay, I want to remind you, ko han auditor fon la manka ka bele pick ikara randomly demand pick or an auditor fral yemino highlight ni comme so fana pon a random story do lelta minen ko de do bi fe ko minen ko adequate punishment non mon kela do bi fa yol punish le foka pare ya on maybe ye file or maybe ye case refile for prosecution. So those things the commission does not even have to deal with those things. So just promote ya lonko, everything is not just what was presented at the commission.
True.
And that is not because it is so huge of but that's just how administrations work. And that's how it ought to be. Yeah, understand? So Ibrahim, we talk about an instance wherein a political party, you know, when it comes to discipline and profession, Molka Foucault, the economists, are one of the most disciplined, trustworthy ones. But when it comes to Gambian politics, when it comes to being level-headed, conducting yourself in ways that portrays or showcases integrity in public service, PDIS is one of the well-known political parties for this. They don't have a lot of elected officials, but they do come with some competent ones and ones that do often have integrity and they value integrity. One of their elected officials said, look, you know what? This Talib, this market survey, it never happened. He just want to break himself free from this. He said it did not happen. You saw Talib Ahmed Bensouda at the commission saying that this happened. You saw his elected officials come to the commission, take their turns, and to come like like a circus of friends. Everybody coming and repeating the same lie that they went for about 20 or 29 days, 28 days, whatever the number of days were. It was not true. The event did not happen in the first place. Why will you, after being entrusted by the electorate to come and serve them as mayor, not just come and mislead the people about that event, but you will also coach other people to come and say that in fact it did happen and you were paid for it. You imagine getting paid for an event that never happened. You see, that alone tells me that Talib does not have integrity. And these are just one of the few events many are going to say well is Jamal kita at the commission many at the level of KMC. In his defense, I believe so the critics need to hear me out on this because I said some things that happened under the watch of Talib. Some of them are like, okay, let's say among the dolmu corruption in the first 1 year example, first 3 months, first 6 months, some of them, these are rookie errors. But with Talib out still, you will have to come back and repeat the fact that it is corruption because the guy will never admit any of these mistakes. Yeah, understand? Me storing him for us, it is at a squanala, but Nina Rajiba suffer overall, mistake or administrative error, but pin him to any specific issue prior for corruption. So you see, the story of mankind. Ala muniatina, ala fonka intervene kana corrupt society, and in Yatonko corrupting all the okay, Bruka. Fama mol soto men menen ko wolle fatira woni fatis nya wili gilim because alay attribute into labi adi do lanu munatina o mol mo kelano fo ala na ra intervene ibalo na wala ko corruption is cancer and corruption is dangerous Ibrahim ya on so Talib a lota nyina nyame anu the other things me alon ko kam fala ko wala nyingo ay na dindingol tinya nyame because Habibu bin Sita nga understand ko Habibu mu kefati mbaldi Habibu left corruption wala Habibu was even questioning the employment process of people like Seda Aisafal. Yeah, understand? Okay, yeah, Kumado Clan because that sounded like very much like personal. Okay, so this I was responding to a video wherein
it was absolutely personal. Let me
just address it. Let me just address it.
That's what I'm saying. I did my background work and I went through most of your videos from many years ago. And sometimes you really go hard, which is okay. But I do.
No, but let me address this. Okay. So this happened at a time when that guy went explicit. Explicit guy so that person came and then he told them, because you can even suggest, you can even think, everybody is free to think because you don't know, this person came out of nowhere, and in video so in response to that, you cannot compare Yankuba to somebody like this. Yankuba more employee, me alonko, another employee kata nyola tamola, muso for story ka finti me along ko ka ko ngala la ran fenel. And Ibrahim, you need to correct this because niko personal. But huh?
I'm just curious. What? Because y'all
No, nela moy do mbe ko no dia kana to be honest mandra on different opposite side yan even interview ko no mbe je clear after commission do so wala dina ko niko personal intention na je because na man for commission do this happen at the commission. This is not like ndara digle somewhere. This is a matter of public record. So maybe that one jail moy so but I was privileged enough to listen to the whole commission. So in that regard ndaba fla ko this is
let me correct that. Laram Fene Yeminfo was not mentioned at the commission. I don't remember hearing that from the commission.
No, you don't want to go down that road with me. Me guide la kana warindo malamu. So after commission wal na no go amon chodi it's like na no amon for commission do mbafla ko mbadung you know maybe ngani bonni mi do jumale ni fanya fango confa but when they themselves say it, you understand, and you know when you Ibrahim now maybe you will say ko fana it is personal. When I say ko it is a proven record. I mean this is many folk and please mantra fo kam pour ka Talib boss mo but la tay le comme hanib dol camera commission fo la Talib tiñala nya man ciowti de Talib tata by flight la Aisha tata by land la ibe tata mission kilomol. This is a proven record based on the commission investigation but ya jele ya pin jela comme ka ni mo dol la mo ngane jawol la me ba tata ka pin because evidence ya collaborate le ko Aisha tata wato mena to go for the visa Talib la visa Aisha by land Talib fana tata by flight la. You understand? So naron commission left nunca pass to go personal to humiliate him, to publicly embarrass him. These are the things that they about timeline on because there was travel record everything. They did not do any of this. Ibrahim.
That's what you did, Wandifa. On your video. What you did.
No, it's still now. You just want to pin this on me, but it doesn't work like that. That's not the methodology. What I'm trying to tell you is the commission did it. Not like the commission did it the way the commission could. That is, established as Nyimbeje, whatever Nyimbeje, Isabeje. And they try because to be honest with you, he's a married man. He doesn't know Teledo. You know, he can't pin was Sifadol. Okay, but that does not in any way mean that somebody like me cannot talk about it, Ibrahim. Yeah, come on, that's the same thing. This is the kind of legit expectation. Kela between Tolni Usenu Dawatem. Usenu Sakuma Dofu, not Taufolano, but Dafa Sakuma Dofu, Usenu Taufala. That's the way the commission can deal with it. But for me, I will put one and two together and explain it as it is. I'm sorry, I am Wandifa, I am not the commission. Yeah, understand? I mean, so I don't know, some of them they have this irresistible urge to defend Talib. Yeah, understand? But unfortunately, the records are not as clean as they wish they are. Just like if now kudo fana wala ndela record ya wish ndela record nota more because they are a prominent opponent. Yeah, understand? Yeah, wish ndela record is a little bit more nasty than it is. It is. Yeah, understand? Yeah, wish there was explicit nendrol from me. Yeah, wish like a video been ban nendrol cake and nendrol, especially identity. They still mad at me, Ibrahim. Why I don't go after his identity? Because if you're going because of what I see, and I need to say this, and I don't have to say this because that's not a fact. You don't want Talib because of our identity.
So
but some of them have this preconceived notion because of our brother. You know, those are BS.
Yeah. So I'm glad you made that clear too, because I think Okumad and Molio Fahamonyama, because some of, like I said, part of my job is also to put those criticisms before you to say that, hey, Molko Iman Lafala because of among you more Carla Mad, well you see Carla Mad, well you la Carla. You know, so
to be very frank with you, Nimbeto Yafole, not Nunko Mandinka Fasalem, Ndebe Talib Fasal. If I have to be frank with you. Because Ndamalka deal, Ndamalka Diamle, okay? So behind these things, Ikamemfo, Ola Nindigo, you go on a Talib Tamendi. And 2 or 3 people from their base have told me this, from their group, before splitting it clear and become a little bit bitter. Ko, I don't got Talib support. Ninga Talib support. Yeah? That's the way me as president, because ninga support do ko nyifanko mbala National Assembly members mba make sure ko mfon lebe na National Assembly members fenkela select la mba control no la nga mare malon ko president la sembo ka kinyama ni president ya ka kinyama you know, and they told me ko they want to be able, if you want to have a Mandinka president right now, you need to have Talib. And Talib is, by my own definition, Talib is a Mandinka, because Talib ba uluba Mandinka, because you don't bala, I value my culture. Talib Mumbari no, by the way. All
Yes.
these new
Yes.
compops, people that they are forget. But Talib Mumbari no, because I see Ami as my sister, and son. You understand? So Talib, ano a farmer fana, ufana farmer fana amunu benu manika community kono. So Talib abulu, and therefore I don't like naka fenga kawa atamanke city. Amu sweat Talib mumaningol. Talib cannot deny this. You understand? He's nothing more than a maninka. He's just a maninka. Even in a society kuna jibe, ika is like a stonko doje, akatara jola kunda, maninka kunda, standard jola kunda. This is how it happened. So to be honest, for me, Talib is just a maninka. And I don't know if he's ever going to embrace it, but I think he's just a mandinga. Amanjere, delete dala. So, but Italia jiko dinto lalako, Taliban sol ninko itol. Ko Talib, na kena president, that's the way me mandinga president nyaron ko la nyame, ni laftala easily. And they laid out ila plan solu, mwele. I could have very easily said, this is the best way to have a mandinga president. But Ibrahim, I'm guided by conscience. Nganye story memfo, wellente mold. The story, Baba Job la story, monk friend of when not Diamola started. I had the privilege, Ibrahim, to listen to the audio message of Baba Job while he was in mile 2. Very few Gambians. Very few Gambians. It's a very privileged message. I had the fear of a father or the concern of a father talking to his daughter about realities of life and how they need to learn to move on without them. Baba was not dead, but he knew he was going to die. He knew it. This time, this is why I'm going to go. These are the things many emboldened. So the Talibans, they don't have nothing. If anything, I'm looking for who is next. I'm not thinking about surrendering to them. Okay, I'm thinking about who is next, what is next.
And to that manner, we all as human beings have way of interacting. You have your way of advocacy. You don't surrender. You don't relent. You don't surrender. Right? You go hard. If people come after you, you go after them. Right? And I think model fanang they see the manner in which, for example, other people interact with others. No, people like Wandifa Bejele, people like Abubakar Siddiq Bejele, they go after people, they go personal. Mamadou Sabali also used to do that, right? I'm not saying that's what you do, but I do think that also, like in terms of if you're associated with a party at a certain level, if you're in a public interaction every a certain way, it rubs some people off the wrong way. Not that that matters. Maybe some of you Allah interest man to have more people in your party, or unless people me and uncle they accept you for who you are and accept your politics the way you do it. But do you at any point worry about that to say, hey, Wandifa, or wala usenu ye call for, hey, Wandifa, tune it down, Wandifa, calm down, Wandifa, slow down? Does that happen at all?
So Wandifa has not done anything that is more serious than some issues in the past. I remember he once addressed one of us indirectly. Of course, as near I Africa, that's what he was trying to explain. But Dolma understand. But Uzenu, as party leader, you have to understand his position. I remember there was somebody who came after a particular individual, Malaf Kamentovaja. I think he did Facebook Live. This is also a prominent UDP member. I Facebook Live, calling him all kinds of names. What Usenu did was he said he wanted to call us as diaspora member media. Okay, he wants to talk to us. I meet him Kumandi, and then he talked about this specific case, but he didn't call the person's name to say Kari Nyambula. Yeah, but I'm only moving forward because you look for it. You have to be forward looking. You try to remedy a solution, a problem. You try to remedy it in such a way that it go repeat. You understand? Moving forward, you have to be forward looking. So Usene in that context. And problem at the same time we are like looking already what should come next or in the next film. But I'm distracted because now I'm not capable interview see that.
Abe minna mulma kala muda Yankuba Darboe be Brigama chairperson be Mimbe Kerin TV. So Wandifa be pare len kata oda lafaka nyinin ka Yankuba la kuola num but nibe son na ngeen nyinin.
Yeah, you can go ahead. You can go ahead.
Yes. So Yankuba ko ya iboda brick lifta Brigama le ndefa na mboda Brigama Newtown. And Kadiamo Jamal and Mianko, they're very happy.
For any of them, Sugilin, right?
Fakili, Rahonyadi.
Alison.
Fakili.
No, you never can do Yabula. Wait a minute, Mali. Kita laban tayo boy.
But let me in kind of youngster cool, man. So obviously, you can Yanks defend back at the side. So much so that I think some people are saying, "Ko, you can Yanks defend now. Man, tell Darboe for la ko for defend one now. More malo never caring." So is this like a thing? Puruka Yankuba coming on for 2026, or you're looking beyond 2026, say 2031? Because already Yankuba is already doing his own media tour. He's chairman of Brikama, but he's doing a great job in Brikama as well. But what is this fierce defense of defending Yankuba record when Allah Rohi Malik Lobe Jana Banyun? There is not much being discussed about Rohi Malik Lobe, but he is all Yankuba Dawa now as the face of UDP.
Yala tension no wara no patio kono tension no me tension no wara ni na patio kono wegra flag bearer so flag bearer bandala ya understand so there is nothing wrong with to be honest in last couple of years 3 years or so the chairman and mayors have become a little bit popular because of Talib interest in the flag bearer position. So obviously, mayor chairman or let me just call them as generally mayor for this composition. So mayor narake they become prominent, okay, so Yanks man narake obviously Molialo no Moli Talib lo nyameng and then be similar palace or less palace kilon le bebe blue in different regions. So but when it comes to Ousainou Darboe, if that had made Ousainou uncomfortable, you would have noticed that within, because more will be you'll look at loyal Ousainou supporters and they'll be like, hey, what are you guys doing? You're trying to push our old man. There is no such thing. There is no vacancy open as far as the flag bearer is open. So but you need to understand the position of the two. Yanks is an elective position about. Ousainou in any elective position. Just party leader man. So Yanks blood, there will be things going on. He'll be coming under constant attack, skirmishes here and there. So obviously, what are we talking about here, bro?
Yes, but Rohilo is also an elected individual. So what do you say about that? But Allah central defense is Yankuba constantly. So
when it comes to the issue of Rohi decided to be a little bit quiet now. You understand? And that's by choice. And she's not quiet about the fact that she wants to stay quiet. So obviously, what are you going to say? Nimantra stage will come back. Ito buka for back. But come example, for example, yeah. Or let me just take example from my brother. Maybe you'll understand that more. If I have an interaction with Alaji, I will be very hesitant to explain that on social media. Why? Because the guy doesn't even like to be here. I can't install I understand. But like, he is not here all the time. So why would I don't feel uncomfortable. I don't want no name to blow out Jenny. I refuse to mention their names. Some of them is because of that. They are not active. You understand? So instinctively, if you are not active on a social media platform, I think it's grossly unfair. So it's the same thing. So social media, if you choose to stay away from media, people will not often be talking about you. And for me, it's so it's the same thing with Rohi, my candidate, my mayor, but not on the stage. I would rather not, because I left a lot of quietness and privacy. So you cannot breach that by, constantly coming up with unnecessary topics. They will help disturb her mentally. So you don't have to do that. And when it comes to Commission for Alefendo, let me just make this clear. Royal approach and Talib's approach at the Commission are two distinct things. If Rohi was a little bit more remorseful and she admitted to errors. Way more than Talib. Talib will just tell you there were administrative errors. But there are specific cases that Rohi will admit that what happened here could have done better, could have been done better, or otherwise. You understand? So iman killing. Yalo wo fana bi jele ite dua karane ni bi lafta mol punish. Mo me remorse tani me remorse ibe nyadi. I mean, alkana kokula ni bra. Bari nga kajayo diaring. I think you need to have me another day. For the platform,
I just quickly want to say that, Puru Molia Fahamko, at the end of the day, this is the essence of Kaka Gambia Diyad, Kachayake, Ganyo Fahamu, Abeke Horomon in Bunya Fanankono. Ntani Wandifa, Nanaman Yoneng, Nanaman Yosaba, but we go back and forth on a variety of issues, right? So much so that then I'm from Wandifa from Wild and Kamal Fire block, but I'm on them block, not a Fahamleko, I restricted on Kaduna been the Mikanyaka, Sankata, and Kacha, what do that is normal. But I just want to say that at the end of the day, it's important for Gambians to see that it doesn't matter. In UDP, loud, more Senkino, that's up to them. It's okay, but I'm a free Gambian. I'm a free, independent thinker, and I'm able to articulate my thoughts in a way that I'm allowed to. If I make mistakes, I still have right to make those mistakes. And so it's Wandifa. Wandifa, I'm sure Amantaka Sijan Kafuko addition decision Kawala Fonfenke is absolutely perfect. Or I Fonfenke Dorang is error free. No, that's not the essence of our conversation and our political code and maturity. So let's understand that. And just to make the point that I really appreciate you taking your time, Wandifa, on a very short notice to come and have this conversation with me. I admire and respect what you do. I like your advocacy, and most importantly, I also like how articulate you are with Mandinka. So, ndol dol fana yalong coming from Falde Doram, ndol mamal mankulu. But in Fanantal saying we're constantly getting better at it because the more we do it, and also for the first time, Nakachake Angale Kaola ni Mande Kaon Fana Mune. So for all of our audience who are here with us, Mafla Loko Ala Baraka, I can state that also go and subscribe to our YouTube platforms and also on Facebook and in Instagram and in TikTok. I'm also support Minkela because I think it's absolutely important. Somebody said you have a soft spot for UMC. Bro, I'll tell you, if you know me, you know I have a soft spot for UDP too. It's man to put a damn one the first second year in Karaga people don't know who I am. But I have.
No, nyela ko do gelo but to be honest, I safo besu mo I yaba yan ne yaba nyola sport dem buka politique kaja. Suleiman, not Suleiman Falano. I think Suleiman the brother, right?
So
yeah, exactly. I not along back and miss football.
I play no back.
Hey,
to make the point that I think it's okay. Not everybody should belong to somewhere, but it's okay. Put more for hey, you have a soft spot for this. I'm more PDOIS than I'm anything. I've never said that to some of you, but that's what it is. People should be able to accept other people and not basically put them in certain places. That's man can wait. But what if I really appreciate you, coming on? Remember in science and thing. You are itching to go there.
No man banke kan. Banke kan. But anyway, Abaraka thank you very much for having me. No, obviously I want to go and watch, but I can always watch. So obviously I have to honor your invitation. This like ngamfang koron kombe last la jila la drum fat because yala man ko man fo man ka kawme baga man ko ekilibale efise ekilip so is something is very very important. Nimo e kumandi dro.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Wandifa. And we'll have this again, inshallah.
Abaraka. Thank you so very much, brother. Thank you very much.